Hello, everybody, and welcome to my discussion I'm having with John Oster, the writer, producer, director of the film The Father, and a Minnesota connected filmmaker. Although he lives in Los Angeles now, we'll have to find out a little bit more about that. But John, thank you for spending a little time to talk about your film.
Of course, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, as well as providing the wonderful opportunity of have our film play at the Twin Cities Film Festival.
Well, we're so glad to have it. Especially, we support all filmmakers, but we especially have a sensitivity to our local people, even if they end up moving other places. We will probably stalk you the rest of your life to like, what are you working on? What can we
Yes,
see? Once you're part of the family, you're part of the family.
that's right.
The Father is a very a timely, poignant drama. You wrote it, produced and directed it. Where did this story come from?
Well, I would say roughly 2 years ago, I started writing it, and it came after I saw an interview, watched a video interview specifically of two parents in the immediate aftermath of their son's death. And their kid had been killed from gang violence, and it was absolutely devastating to watch. And I felt a little just devastated watching it, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit after watching that. And I watched a lot more and a lot more, and, until I stumbled upon a specific interview, and it was of a father, I believe in Chicago, though I'd have to double check that.
Mhm.
And yeah, he was grieving the loss of his son, and again to gang violence and just senseless acts. And I realized that I wanted to tell a story about that, and so I sat down and I started writing The Father.
Fantastic. Well, and one of the structures of the film, especially because it's your first feature, correct?
Yes, that is
Yeah, yeah.
correct.
You worked on some shorts and some other sort of videography sort of things, but your first feature,
Yes.
the idea that you have a relatively small cast, uh, uh, fewer locations, which make things very palatable and workable for you. But I have to say, your two lead actors really carried a lot of this film. So tell me about both of your lead actors. The gentleman who played your father, and I'm going to say Kalichi. Is that how you pronounce his name?
That's right. Yeah.
Kalichi and Lee. So tell us about those
That's
two
right.
wonderful actors.
Well, actually, I have to give a big shout out to Lee Henry Jordan. Um, he actually, I remembered someone recommended I reach out to him
Yep.
regarding this casting, because some of it was very specific, specifically for the character of the father, and it's such a big role to kind of fill. So he actually got me in touch with both Kalechi as well as Lee. And the very funny thing is, this is a very, very dramatic movie, obviously, and these are dramatic roles, dealing with very serious topics. Um, but both of these actors are actually stand-up comedians. I mean, that's what they do,
Ah,
that's what they do as a career. So I think it's very interesting, because sometimes you'll find that the people that do make the best dramatic actors also are stand-up comedians or comedians. But they were terrific. I mean, I remember I had met with several people for the role of the father specifically, and then I met with Kalecki, and everything changed. I even had, it's a little bit unprofessional, but I was supposed to have another meeting with someone after meeting Kalecki, and I I went ahead and I knew that Kalecki was the guy, and I just had to tell the other person this, because it was so
love at first
obvious.
sight. Love at first sight is fine. He filled the role.
Absolutely,
Well,
absolutely,
and again, I'm just amazed that, and again, I also know that a lot of times comedy comes from pain, but just the idea, again, as an acting actor and an acting coach, just the sensitivity in his eyes and the truthfulness that he was portraying the father character in particular. And you're absolutely right. I think he's literally in every scene or every shot, just about, except for the flashback kind of ones, I'm
yes.
guessing. So he had a lot of weight on his shoulders as well. And your young guy, Lee Evans, who literally spent the entire movie tied up in a chair, beat up. But
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about him.
Oh, I mean, again, Lee Evans was just fantastic. Um, Again, a comedian, but did such a wonderful job with this dramatic performance. And one of the great things about him was just when I met with him, I mean, he was so kind of authentic. I mean, one of the things I loved about him is actually that he lived a very similar life in some ways to how the character actually lived. And I think he brought that to the screen in a way that I don't think anybody else could. So, I mean, the movie without these two would be nothing, you know? So it just, I'm blessed. I'm blessed that I found them.
Well, in some respects, even as a director myself too, if you cast the right people, it makes your job a lot simpler. Just moving forward, and obviously you wrote it and had an idea of what this might look like, and once you cast it, it hopefully grows and comes and becomes something else. And once you edit it, it becomes even better and better. And once you add music, which I want to bring up very quickly, you're
Sure.
sitting next to your piano. Tell us a little bit about the music.
Yeah, so in addition to the directing and the writing, I also composed all the music for this film. And I did it on this little thing right here. It's my Korg Kronos synthesizer. And basically what I wanted to do was not distract from the movie. So I thought that the movie was probably powerful enough to stand by itself. And so I really didn't try to create any, super memorable themes or anything like that that will stick in someone's head. I did want it to obviously match the kind of somber tone of the film, but it was very much kind of restricted to the background. It never, I don't think, was overshadowing the film, which was essential, I thought.
Mhm. As you wrote this film, one of the things that I was struck when I was first watching it is like you kind of try to project how it's going to end. And I know that's a typical, like, what's going to happen? And the ending, on some respects, surprised me. Did you have multiple endings, or did you vacillate how you were going to end this?
Yeah,
Because again, I think there's elements in our lives of redemption and forgiveness and all of that sort of stuff. And some of that was a little thrown out the window, I would say. But
absolutely.
let me know your thought process.
No, you're absolutely correct. I think in a lot of other movies, for instance, if we're talking about specifically, what happens kind of to the battered man, as I call him in the
Yep.
script, although he doesn't have a name in the film.
Mhm.
In this, he is killed. He's murdered. In a lot of other films, I think that they might have had it so that the character of the father proves to be the bigger man or whatever, and perhaps he lets him live and lets him, go be a father to his child, right? But while I did have multiple versions of this written, I ultimately settled on the version that you just saw because I really wanted kind of realism. I wanted a gritty realism to this. And I just thought about the fact that if someone takes the life of your child, I really don't think you're going to, I don't think anyone would forgive that. I don't think most people would. And so I thought that this was the right, real way to go with it.
Well, and again, I think people have different ideas of what justice is, or how you react, and sometimes that process takes different forms,
Absolutely.
as it were. And then of course there's a very, and even after the sort of big event, if you will, in some respects, the very closing of the film where he re-engages with his own father who can't um, recognize him, in some respects might be the big event, sort of. I don't know. Your choice for that and how that character was introduced, and then at the end it sort of was introduced.
Well, I think that, I think one of the big things that I wanted to convey in this film was the important relationship between parents and children. And specifically in the case of this film, I think the important relationship between fathers and sons. And you see that throughout the film, whether it's, the titular character of the father and his own son, or the father and his father, Luan, in the nursing home, or the lack of relationship that the battered man, the kidnapped man, has with, had with his father, or ultimately has with his son. I think fatherhood is a very important thing. I think that in a big way, what happens with Luan is almost, it's devastating, and that's the man in the nursing home. Again, most people in this film don't actually have names
Yep.
deliberately, but what happens with Luan, I think, is almost a bit of a good thing for the character of the father, because it's, in a way, it's showing that he's fine with leaving. you know, the character of the father is fine with dying, you know, and he also has cancer, obviously. And you see that in the end scene as well when he's sitting on the bench with his son, right? I think, you know, what was at the beginning, you know, this cancer diagnosis, and it's a terrible, awful thing. He views it as this reuniting thing with his son, and for me, I think it was almost a little bit of mercy with, you know, Luan, in the fact that he just can't remember his life before, and he's beginning to really, his memory of his own son is fading. Yeah, I think that was really what I was going for.
Well, there's no doubt that films are made to have us think and feel, and you can't help watch this and not think about what you would do in those situations or how you would respond. So, in that perspective, it hits the mark. Um, you're in Los Angeles now, in just the last couple months, a new adventure in your life. A lot of times people like to know, like, well, what's next, or what are you working on now? So, can you give us a quick update?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I have a few more short films that I have lined up that I've recently written, as well as a feature-length film script that I wrote. And yeah, I mean, right now the big thing, as I think it is for pretty much everyone, is just seeing what's going to happen with COVID and the economy and everything, you know. So I think we're all pretty much in the same boat with regards to that. But my intention is fully to create these short films and this next feature film, and hopefully have it played again at the Twin Cities Film Festival.
Well, we'll just have to see. Don't forget to, I'm the person who gives out waivers, so don't forget to, if you got something to play with us, just remind me and I'll send you off a waiver once things get up and running next year as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, best of wishes on your journey. Thank you again for letting us share your art. We are truly honored. We know that we have nothing if we don't have filmmakers and film artists support us. Please help us spread the word, and best wishes on your new venture. And we look forward to a very successful streaming series of your films here at the Twin Cities Film Fest.
Of course. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you everyone for taking your time to watch this.
Thank you.